So today's message is one that's dear to my heart. If you were to say, Jeremy, you only have one message that you're allowed to preach for the rest of your life, I would tell you that this message today would fall somewhere in the category of that kind of message. If you could only spend your life talking about one thing for the rest of your life, today might very well be that one thing for me. I've been weepy all morning because my heart is so stirred by Jesus, as simple as that. And I'll just make this declaration to you, Cornerstone. I'll scratch, claw, fight, tooth and nail, or lay down and yield to make sure that Jesus is preeminent in this place. That He is the shining beacon of hope and life. That He is the gravitational pull of our church. That He is the epicenter of everything we do. And so today we are going to continue in the first encounter between Peter and Jesus that took place in a boat out on the water. I want to read the passage, then I'll pray, and then we'll dive in. Luke chapter 5, verses 7 through 11. A shout for help brought their partners in the other boat, and soon both boats were filled with fish and on the verge of sinking. When Simon Peter realized what had happened, he fell to his knees before Jesus and said, Lord, please leave me. I'm too much of a sinner to be around you. For he was awestruck by the number of fish they had caught, as were the others with him. His partners, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, were also amazed. Jesus replied to Simon, don't be afraid. From now on, you will be fishing for people. And as soon as they landed, they left everything. What did they leave? Everything. What did they leave? Everything. And they followed Jesus. Jesus, you are our heart's desire. You're the apple of our eye. You're the center of our universe. All of our hopes hang on you. And we want you more than we want the next breath. I pray that over the next few moments, you would fill this room with your goodness and your love, that you would captivate us. And I ask for your help, Lord. Lord, help me to reflect your nature. Help me to reveal your character and your heartbeat. That over the next few moments, you would speak to the deepest places of our hearts. Lord, I ask that if there is any lie or inaccurate idea about you that we have held on to, whether knowingly or unknowingly, I ask that you would break that off of our lives today. That we would look you in the eye and see you as even better than we ever imagined. And everybody said, amen. So I don't want to recap fully last week, but I do want to take a moment and remind you of what happened. If you'll remember, Jesus told Peter to push out into deeper water, to cast his nets, and to, in faith, believe something was going to happen. Peter obeyed, though he was a little uncertain and unsure, and what we have happening in the verses we just read is the result of Peter's obedience. Nets absolutely full of fish. So many fish in the net that they had to bring another boat over in order to manage the weight and the significance of the catch. Now, I can't speak authoritatively on what this meant economically. I don't know what each fish was worth on the marketplace. I don't know the market value of a net that was that full, but I feel pretty safe in saying that it was a significant financial day for Peter and his companions, that what they held in that net mattered to them. Maybe it was just that they had some old debts and this big old net full of fish was going to pay off old debts. Maybe this net's full of fish represented just some relief from financial stress. Does anybody know what it's like to be financially stressed? I wonder if anybody in this room knows what it's like to go from paycheck to paycheck. Does anybody in here remember what it was like to try to navigate all of the bills, and you had to time it just right, sending in the water bill and the electric bill and the rent and the credit card bill, and you had to send things at a precise time hoping that a check didn't bounce. I don't know if there's anybody here that knows what it's like to only pay interest on the credit card for days, weeks, months, or years at a time. You know, some of us in this room, that's where we are, and there's no judgment. You might, though, look around and think, well, these people don't know anything about that. But I have a feeling there's a lot of us in the room that can remember a day when the stress and financial pressure was weighing down on our back, and all that came with that emotionally and mentally. I can't say for certain that that was Peter's experience, but it is a strong possibility. Maybe this catch simply represented that he now was going to have an abundance and he could chase some dreams. Maybe it meant luxuries that he never imagined having. Whatever the case, this was not your average day at the office. This was the day when you had put in for the promotion and you got the promotion. It is when the raise direct deposit hit your bank account. That's what kind of day this was. This was the day when the deal you had been brokering finally came through. This was the day when the sale was final and the commission check showed up. This was a big, good, monumental day for Peter. I wonder what Jesus was trying to tell Peter by giving him this surplus, by blessing him with this abundance. I suspect that what Jesus was trying to tell Peter is that he was more than a good teacher. I think Jesus was saying with this miracle, yeah, I am brilliant and I am wise and I am intelligent, but I am more than that. I have a feeling what Jesus was saying to Peter is that I am indeed God. I am the one you've been waiting on. I am the Messiah that has been prophesied about through the generations, and that nature has to bow its knee to me, and the entirety of the universe has to submit to my authority and rule and reign. I think what he was trying to say is that I am the God of impossible. I make all things possible. That when I speak, everything changes. When I wave my hand, the world has to respond to it. I don't know how it worked. I don't know that in his omniscience, maybe he knew where the fish were, and so he directed Peter to where he knew the fish were, or simply a thought from the Son of God had such gravitational pull that the fish could not resist coming in his direction. All I know is Jesus was announcing to these young men that when you roll with me, you can expect miracles. When you walk after me, you can anticipate that I will invade the timeline of the earth. I will move into time and space, and I will reorder things and change them on your behalf. Some of us in Cornerstone need to start waking up in the morning, reminding ourselves that Jesus fills the nets, and that if he did it for Peter, he can do it for you too. What would happen if we woke up in the morning with our eyes set to the horizon, with great anticipation that that thing that has been taunting us, or that situation that we've been dealing with, at one whisper of his voice, everything could change? That's what he was saying. I'm a miracle worker, and everything has to bow down to me. It was a great day. Let's consider Peter's experience to this point. Though brief, a lot has happened in his life. First, Jesus picked him. When all the other religious leaders were keeping their distance from him because they deemed him unworthy or underwhelming or undervalued, Jesus was cutting the distance. Jesus got in the boat with Peter. He got in his personal space. He wanted to be close. He wanted to be near. And then Jesus gave him a command. And even though Peter struggled to muster up enough faith to obey, he did obey. And in response to his tepid obedience, Jesus performed a miracle. Jesus gave him an abundance. He gave him a financial windfall. That's a pretty good short burst experience with the Son of God. If that happened to you, how do you imagine you would respond? If you just witnessed a monumental miracle in your life, what do you imagine you would demonstrate as an expression of appreciation? I mean, you would think with Peter, there would be something that comes out of him that was an adequate representation of what Jesus did. The Bible says that Peter hit his knees, and that is exactly what you would expect anybody to do. I would anticipate if God came through and he healed your body, or he saved your lost child, or he provided for you financially in a way that you had been holding out hope for, that you too might hit your knees and just say, thank you, Lord, for your abundance. Thank you, Lord, for your favor. Thank you for your generosity and your kindness. Thank you for your goodness. Tears might roll down your face with adoration and affection and appreciation at the magnitude of what God did in your life. You might start dancing and shouting. There might be something that rises up in you that says, I cannot contain my appreciation. How many of you ever got a miracle and you could not contain what you were feeling on the inside? So Peter falls to his knees. That makes sense. But what he says does not. Oh Lord, leave me. I'm too much of a sinner to be around you. What do you think was going through his mind right there? It's an odd response. It's a peculiar take. Lord, I'm not good enough. I don't measure up. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. Lord, if you really get a good look at me, you're not going to want what you see. I don't deserve this. I've told this before, months and months ago, but I think it's appropriate. Let's say I know my kids love Oreos. How many of y'all love some Oreos? Now, I'm not talking about, Equate, whatever, Hydrox, good, great value. I'm talking about like the real, the Oreo. The good stuff. I mean, right now, some of you can, like that cookie crumble with that. Let's say I know my kids love Oreos. Like it lights up their life. And I'm at Kroger, and I just happen to be near the Oreo aisle. And I grab that bag, double stuff, why not? Go big or go home. And I take those Oreos home. I bought them for the purpose of experiencing my kids experiencing them. I bought them to watch their eyes light up. I bought them to see their countenance shift as their taste buds experience the Oreo. I take the Oreo, set them on the table, the package, and I just peel off the top. And then I go to the refrigerator and I get 2 big glasses and I fill them with milk, cold milk. Look, I'm talking about whole milk. I'm not talking about skim milk, 2%. I'm not talking about white water here. I'm talking about that thick stuff straight from the udder. And I put it on the table. And I called to my kids to come to the dining room. And they walk through the door and they see the Oreos and the glasses of milk. And you could see their eyes widen. You could see the anticipation in their bodies. And I can't wait because I love them and I like to give them joy. I can't wait to watch them partake of the thing that I bought for them. But then suddenly their countenance shifts. And their eyes turn to the floor. And they start saying, well, Dad, I hadn't picked up my toys. And I had a bad attitude the other day, and I didn't make straight A's this 9 weeks. And, well, me and my brother, we were fighting a couple hours ago. We don't deserve the Oreos. Now, as a dad, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to go over and lift their little face and say, I'm the dad here. You don't get to decide what you do and do not deserve, nor do you get to tell me how I'm supposed to feel about you. I went to the store with you on my mind. I saw the Oreos and your delight was at the front of my thoughts. I made the purchase. I bought them just so I could watch you enjoy what I won for you. I decide what you deserve. Don't tell me what you don't deserve. I'm your daddy. I'm your father. And I say you deserve it. You're worth it. Some of us in this room need to get a new revelation of God because we seem to always go to Him with this impoverished posture. I'm no good. I don't deserve. You know, Peter was insecure about how receptive Jesus would be toward him. And here Jesus is saying, have I ever done anything to make you doubt how I feel about you? I mean, after all I've done, and I'm just saying that to some of you in the room, after all He's done, has He ever shown you anything but I love you, I'm for you, I'm with you, and I'm on your side? That's been the message for generations. Peter was more confident Jesus would reject him than he was confident Jesus would receive him. And I think sometimes we do the same. We assume the worst about God. Maybe it's because of some past relationships, and those relationships have influenced us so much that we project that on God. Maybe it's because we've been inundated and saturated with teachings that diminish who God is. But for whatever reason, there's a lot of us that need to detach ourselves from some bad ideas about Him. I just need you to hear this. You can trust Jesus is receptive to you. You can trust without a doubt in your mind or your heart that Jesus is receptive toward you. But what about the, what? No. You know, some people would call what Peter did humility. I think we need to have a better definition of humility, because I think what a lot of people are calling humility is actually just insecurity and inferiority. This is what humility is. Humility is the diminishing of self-centeredness. It's our awareness that we are not self-sufficient. It is the perpetual acknowledgement of God's goodness, His kindness, His generosity, His authority, and His power in our lives. Humility is the practice of looking away from self and turning our attention to God. Humility is not about what we do or don't deserve. Humility is the acknowledgement that He has won me completely and wholly. Some would attempt to be humble and they'd say stuff like, I'm just pitiful. I ain't no count. That's from West Tennessee right there. I'm just a worm. I'm no good. I'm a sinner. I don't deserve it. I'm unworthy. First off, you don't really believe that. Some people, we say stuff like that, but then we turn around and we still expect the world to revolve around us. We expect the world to revolve around our wants, our wishes, our preferences. Like, oh, I'm so pitiful, but if you don't do what I want you to do. Oh, I'm no good, I don't deserve anything, but you better act like I want you to act. No, that's not humility. That's not what God intends. Here's what humility looks like. I know I've got deficiencies. I know that I cannot do it on my own, but God. God gave me the talent, the intellect, the skill, and the capabilities and the capacity to do everything that He intends for me to do in life. God equipped me fully and completely. Not only that, but God brought the right people into my life and sent me to the people I needed who would challenge me and encourage me and develop me and on occasion be friction to me so that my flesh would die. God did that. God sent me to the places I need to go so He could elevate me, so He could promote me, so He could establish me. And God also sometimes sent me to desert places and to wilderness waiting seasons so He could refine me and He could mature me. The Lord is my master. All that I have that is good comes from Him. But make no mistake, I've got a lot of good going on. I've got something to offer. I've got something to say. I've got something to contribute. I've got something valuable to add because God has put it on the inside of me. Because God has been working on my life. I can slay that giant because God has equipped me to sling a rock and knock that joker's head off. I can topple a mountain because God has given me the ability to scale it. That's what humility looks like. It's not braggadocious, nor is it self-deprecating or self-degradating. It is the acknowledgement that God is at work in my life and He has given me everything I need pertaining to life so that I can walk out all of His plans and intentions for my life. Humility is the acknowledgement of God. I don't have a lot of patience or love for when we talk and sing and act impoverished or like we're pitiful. I get that we were sinners, but that is past tense if you're a follower of Jesus. You were a sinner, but now you are a son or daughter of Him. That is your title. That is your identity. Well, what about? No. That is who you are because that's who He says you are. So Peter is saying, I don't deserve it. How does Jesus respond to Peter? Verse 10 says, Jesus replied to Simon, don't be afraid. From now on, you'll be fishing for people. Just the statement, don't be afraid, indicates that Peter was dealing with fear. He was afraid of rejection. He was afraid that he didn't measure up. But there's some subtext to don't be afraid. I think if I were to add some additional language to what Jesus was telling Peter, and I think we could receive it here, He was saying, hey, get up. Come on. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to worry about me and how I feel about you. You don't have to wring your hands and fret and be concerned that I might give up on you one day or I might get tired of you. You're fearful about something that's an impossibility. I am love personified. I am committed to you beyond your wildest imagination. So come on. And then He says, I'm going to make you fishers of men or a fisher of people. And if I were to add language to that, it would sound like, hey, you're struggling with the idea that I want you, but I'm 10 steps ahead of you. Not only do I want you, I have got plans for your life. Son, I am going to show you what living really looks like. I got purpose, I've got promise, I've got destiny on you that is beyond your wildest imagination. You over here wondering if I want you. I'm all the way down the road committed to you to the very end. I'm about to show you what being a human really looks like. Don't be afraid. I'm about to make something of you, son. The team will come. We got to notice, Jesus didn't coddle Peter. He didn't baby him. He was saying, I'm not going to allow your imperfection to define you, okay? I'm not going to allow that. But I'm also not going to baby you here and let you stay here. Because the path out of what you're in and the path into what I have planned for you is not found wallowing in the dirt or the mud or sitting in the hull of this boat with salt water soaking into your skin. That's not the way. The way to where we're gonna go is for you to get up from where you are and start following me. That's how you get there. And that's exactly what Peter did. He followed. He followed. I want to read verse 11 again. And when I say this, I love the Bible. And I feel like I say this a lot, but this one, like, I really mean it. This is one of my favorite verses in the whole Bible. I mean, I come back to this verse a lot. Verse 11, as soon as they landed, they left everything. They left everything and followed Jesus. I'm going to just tell you now, that phrase stirs my heart. I feel like I've devoted my whole life to this passage. Personally, and in ministry, sitting across the table, having coffee with people, and standing on platforms with a microphone in my hand. I feel like my life has been devoted to this. They left everything. And I don't know how you can articulate 44 years of living or 20-something years of preaching. I don't think I can adequately say what I feel in my heart and what I've experienced with Jesus. I just know that those young men, in that moment, saw something in Jesus that was desirable, that was divine, that was delectable, that was dazzling. They saw something in him that was awesome, that was alluring, that was appealing, that was inviting. They saw something that was beautiful and bright and brilliant. They saw something, they perceived something. It was almost like they could look through time and space and see that the one standing in front of them was exquisite. He was excellent. He was enchanting. He was engaging. He is superior to all things. He is matchless in every way. He is peerless above all. He is fascinating beyond description. He is impeccable. He is lovely. He is wonderful. He is precious. How many of you know that's who he is? He is the first and the last, the beginning and the end. He's the first thing God had to say, and he is the final word of all things God. He is the visible image of the invisible God. That's who he is. He's the rose of Sharon. He is the lily of the valley. He is the fairest of 10,000, and he is the bright and morning star. Wonderful Counselor, mighty God, and Prince of Peace. That's who he is. He is the bread of life. He is the chief cornerstone. He is our good shepherd. He is a fountain of living waters. He is your advocate. He is your mediator. He's sitting at the right hand of the Father making intercession for you right this very moment. Jesus is the way to God. He is the truth about God. He is full life in God. He is your hope. He is our aspiration. He is the pinnacle. He is the epicenter. He is the apple of our eye and the delight of our soul. Come on, 30 seconds. If you know him, would you bless him right now? Oh, come on. Something worthy of a king. Something worthy of a king. Come on, lift your voice. He is Jesus. He is the Messiah. He is the atoning one. He is the ultimate sacrifice. He's a lamb that was slain before the foundations of the world, and he is the roaring, triumphant Lion of Judah. That's who he is. Everything. He is throne. And that's what those three young men saw. Sitting in that boat, minds blown, eyes wide open. And the last piece was Jesus pushing past Peter's inferiority complex. And at that moment, Peter knew, if this guy ain't gonna reject me, I'll spend the rest of my life right on his heels. I'll lay down beside him in the evening. I'll dine with him at lunch. I'll speak with him on the mountaintop. I'll let him walk me through the valley. My life for the rest of my days is laid down as an offering unto him. Woo. You can have a seat for a second. What is everything? Well, for Peter and James and John, everything meant having to leave behind comfort and convenience and easy. They had to lay aside their ideas of what's normal. They had to leave some relational dynamics. They didn't necessarily have to leave all the people, but they had to leave how they related to the people. They had to leave how they interacted. Not only that, but remember, we have 2 boatfuls of fish. They had to leave all of it. They had to leave their newfound wealth. They had to leave their great success. They had to leave their best day occupationally. I have often been fascinated by the idea that Jesus gave them an abundance. He was overwhelmingly generous. He gave them 2 boats full of fish and then beckoned them to leave all of that behind. It doesn't even make sense. Why did he ask them to leave something that he just gave them? Well, first and foremost, because he wants you to worship him, not the miracle. He wants you to be about him, not his benefits. He wants you to look at his face and not always want his hand. But he also wanted to give those guys something to put on the altar as a worship to God. Those fish were their sacrifice. They were their expression of devotion. Something else they had to leave is they had to leave behind their rejection, their shame, their fear, their insecurity, their doubts, their hurts, their anxiety. What those young men had a revelation of, I believe, in that moment, is that Jesus is the true everything, and everything else is actually nothing. Oh yeah, Jesus is the true, the one and only everything, and everything else is actually absolutely nothing. Paul said it this way in Philippians. He said in Philippians 3:8, yes, everything else is worthless when compared to the infinite value of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord. For his sake, I have discarded everything, counting it all as garbage, so that I could gain Christ. Once you've tasted of his goodness, nothing else quite tastes like it did before. Once you have partaken of his divine beauty and splendor, all the other stuff begins to pale in comparison. All that we once held dear seems nothing more than something to place on the altar as an expression of love for the one who has proved himself to be all-encompassing, full sufficiency, everything I need, and then more than enough. Oh, I love that old song. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather have Jesus than treasure untold. I'd rather have Jesus than anything. I got a feeling there's some folks in this room that are feeling that way. He's here. You can't talk about him like this and him not show up. You can't start exalting the person of Jesus and him not stand at attention in a moment like this. I'm just committed to this end. We ain't gonna talk about how to do church and methodology and technology. We're gonna talk about the Son who was and is to come. And we're gonna trust that as we honor Him, that there will be a gravitational pull that comes from Him that sucks a whole city up into the vortex of His goodness. But there's some everythings that need to be left this morning, so that we can actually have the real everything.